Okay, today we're going to talk about molecules and compounds. Just our first entry into this. We'll start over here actually. So if we think of this as a Venn diagram, not all molecules are compounds and not all compounds are molecules. To be a compound, generally speaking, you want more than one type of atom. So carbon and oxygen or sodium and chloride would constitute a compound. Molecules, we'll get into this a little bit more, but it's more of the nature of the bond. So we'll put that discussion off a little bit. So just very briefly, bonds can be more of a sharing of electrons or more of a transfer of electrons. And if it's more of a sharing of electrons, then the substance is called a molecule. If it's more of a transfer of electrons to form charged particles that then attract, it's more of a what's called an ionic compound, which we'll talk about next video. Now, in this schematic, we see that some molecules, like an oxygen molecule, this is a molecule because there's two of these in the formula. If it was just O, then it would be an oxygen atom, of course. But so there's two of these, so you have to have at least two atoms. But if they're the same type, they're a molecule but not a compound. And then here are some examples of compounds that are not molecules. All right, so we're going to focus just on molecules today, and actually pretty specifically on, when it comes to naming these, on binary. So just two different to keep things a little bit simple. When you get to organic chemistry, then you'll start naming an awful lot of wide variety of molecules. Okay, so let's look at the chemical formula and how we write that out. We're going to take an example of a molecule called N-butanol. This is in an alcohol family, and it's an important molecule. It's a nice example because there's a number of atoms that make up the molecule, so it's sufficiently complicated, but it's not too bad. So it consists of 4 carbons, 10 hydrogens, and 1 oxygen. And if you simply list the constituent elements, you have what's called the condensed molecular formula. And in this case, then we would say C4H10O. Now, sometimes you want to convey a little more information, but you still want to maybe write it in a textbook or on paper and keep it in a single line. Then you can do a structural formula without bonds. And this is conveying some bit of information about the actual connectedness of these elements. This does not show how the elements are connected. It just shows which elements are there. This is the structural formula without bonds, and it tells us something. It says there's three hydrogens bonded to 1 carbon. Then it looks like there's a string of 3 carbons where we have 2 hydrogens bonded. And then finally we end with an oxygen and then bonded to a hydrogen. Now this gives a lot of information, especially if you've learned a bit about organic chemistry, and if you become a professional chemist, then you'll be able to get most everything you need from this formula, although it's still somewhat ambiguous. So we can give a little more detail and show the explicit connectivity with the bonds. And that's called a structural formula with bonds. And so here we show exactly how this molecule is connected in a very explicit way. Each element shows the bonds that it's involved with. So this shows this carbon, and here's the 3 hydrogens. So that's this bit here. And then here's our string of 3 CH2s, and then we have our OH over here. Now, for most cases, this clearly identifies what molecule, and that's true here for N-butanol. But there are some molecules that have a handedness to it, and these molecules are called chiral, and so there's still a little bit of ambiguity here. Now, we will shortly get to, well, maybe not shortly, a few videos down the way, we will get to actually expressing the 3D structure. And then you have it completely characterized. And even these chiral molecules are identified by the structure. But for now, we want to be able to know each of these different ways of writing a molecule. All right, so for today, let's focus on molecules, particularly binary molecules, binary molecular compounds. So this will be two different types of atoms in the molecule. Now we might have many atoms, but there's two different types. The naming scheme is such that we use the first element uses the prefix di, tri, tetra, penta to identify how many elements, how many atoms of that type of element are there. Now notice mono for one is absent here. The second element does include mono, di, tri, etc. And I have a little omission here too. Then we change the ending to IDE. So if the second element is oxygen, we would say oxide, or chlorine, we would say chloride. We change the ending of the name. You notice here there's a little parenthetical. If there's a second O, so monoxide, we don't say monooxide, we say monoxide. So we drop that. We don't have two O's there. All right, so let's just look at a few examples here. So here, as written, nitrogen is first. There's two of them, so we would say dinitrogen monoxide. Right, not monooxide, but monoxide. Here we have a similar compound, but notice it's distinct. Now we have one nitrogen, so we'd say nitrogen. And notice we don't say mononitrogen, although you could, people would know what you're understanding, but it's just the convention is to not say that. Nitrogen dioxide. And notice here we have two vowels, which these will always carry vowels. So, but here it's okay, dioxide. So the two vowels are together there. That's fine. And notice the IDE ending. I didn't point that out over here, but IDE ending over here. How do we put these? Well, it's a little bit sort of, you just kind of get to know how things are done, but somewhat generally speaking, the elements that are further this way in the periodic table come first, although we'll see there's some exceptions to that. So nitrogen before the oxygen. So although you could write this as ON2, it's never really done that way. But if you were to say oxygen dinitride, a chemist would be able to figure out what that is based on these rules. Here's carbon tetrahydride. Carbon tetrahydride. And here you see the carbon is actually first, even though hydrogen is further this way. This is often how this is done. So carbon tetrahydride. But here with oxygen, of course this is water, but if we use the systematic naming scheme, then we do see here the hydrogen is first. So this would be dihydrogen monoxide. Dihydrogen monoxide. Okay, so this is the naming scheme for molecules. And again, these are the compounds that, and again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but these are the compounds in which the bonds involve sharing of electrons between the involved atoms. So you'll get a chance to practice this now on the homework, and then the next video we will talk about these guys over here. So what about these ionic compounds? There's a different naming scheme for those, and in fact it's slightly easier, but it does also bring in some additional stuff as well. So the big thing at the end of these two lectures is that you can identify, do I have a molecular compound, a molecule or an ionic compound, and then can I name them with the appropriate naming scheme? And this is the binary molecular naming scheme. All right, so again, practice these in the homework, and there should be a lot of examples in whatever book you've decided to use for this course.